In this video, I'm going to be talking about another gradient, this time an elliptical gradient, and I'm going to use it to make a fictitious galaxy. The first thing I'm going to do is I want a background. So I'm going to go to File and Open, and then look for something called Background of Stars, and that's going to be my background. So once I get my background on here, I'm going to go over to the ellipse tool and click on that and then draw myself an ellipse. Now this time I don't really care if I center it or not because it really doesn't matter. Like the last video I did, I showed you how to center it by hitting the Control-Shift key, but I really don't have to do that. So all I have to do is click on my mouse and just draw me an ellipse and then just arrange it the way I want on the background. So there's my ellipse. Now what I want is I want a fill color. And the fill color that I'm going to choose is going to be, I don't know, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go over here to Swatches and pick a fill color. And this time my fill color is going to be, I don't know, do I want red or purple? I think I will do purple and see what that looks like. No, maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want red. So I'll do red. And then I want to darken it up a little bit. So on this wheel over here, I'm going to move it over and darken it up. So it gets a little bit darker. Okay. So now I have the beginnings of my elliptical galaxy. So now what I need to do is to make sure that my ellipse is selected and go over here and pick the gradient tool. And with the gradient tool, I want to, for type, I don't want it to be solid. I want to pick elliptical gradient. Okay, so now I have my elliptical gradient. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure, see this right here that says Maintain Fill Aspect Ratio? By default, that's always selected. And what that means is that if you move this node, the other node is also going to move. And I don't want that. I want to be able to move them independently, so I'm going to uncheck this. So make sure that you remember that. If you want to do that, it will always be on default when you first start, and you've got to uncheck it. Okay, now when I'm down here, I can move this around to change what's in the middle a little bit and move it back. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to be playing around a lot. So now that I have my elliptical selected, I think I want another color. So I'm going to do another node, and I'll just put my nodes down from left to right. If we want to flip it, we can flip it if we want. But I'm just going to put this node down, and this is going to be one of those, I'm just going to see how it looks. So I'll do a select, and then I think I'll probably pick like a purple color. So I'll pick a purple color, and what I want is I don't know if you've ever in books seen nebula type galaxies that spiral out from the center, but that's kind of what I'm aiming for right now. And so if I want to change what this looks like, all I have to do is to do that and click what that looks like. Now let's try this. Let's go back here, and right here, see how it says reverse? Let's see what's going to happen if I just reverse this. Okay, so now I have it reversing, and I think I'm going to keep it like that because I like that better. I like this better until I don't like it better. That's kind of the way this is going to work. So I've got this. Now let's not stop there. Let's just pick another node. Let's go down here. And then for the color, I'm going to pick something really light, like this yellow. And I'm going to move this a little bit. Come on. So that it is a little bit. Let's pull it out and just arrange it whichever way you want. So what you can do here is to just do that until you get it the way you want. And if you don't want red in there, then you can just kind of do that. And then if you want this to be smaller, you can just do this. And then make it to where you get it just the way you want. So be creative. I'll be the first to admit that I'm really not creative, but this is kind of fun anyway. So now I'm going to click out of that. Now what I want to do now is I want to blur these edges. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. One is to use this tool right here, and that's the first thing I tried was the blur brush tool to see if I could blur the edges. It didn't work very well for me. So instead, I went back to what we've seen before called Gaussian blur. But the first thing you want to do is you want to select the rim of the galaxy. Okay. Now I had a problem with this. If I try to select the rim of the galaxy all the way around and just get the rim, by the time I close it up, it's going to select the whole thing, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is just select part of the rim and then blur it, and then select the rest of the rim and then blur that. So make sure that our ellipse is selected. That's kind of important. And then we're going to just select all the way around. Well, I'm going to select part of the way around until I get to the point where it's going to give me a problem. Okay, so now I've selected part of this. Then we're going to go up to Layer, and then we're going to go down to New Live Filter Layer. Again, we've done this in previous videos. I don't expect you to remember this because actually sometimes I don't remember it since I'm learning along with you. And we're going to go to Blur and then Gaussian Blur. So once we get to Gaussian Blur, then we change our radius until we get the kind of blurred edge that we want. And so I'll just move the radius like that until I get what I want. I don't need to fiddle with the opacity or anything like that right now. I'm going to fiddle with the opacity later on, but not on this one. So now we can just close it and then go select and deselect, and you have it blurred. Now the problem is we still have this. So I'm going to start over here and then select the rest of it. Select the rest of the edge and then do the same thing. Go to Layer, New Live Filter Layer, Blur, and Gaussian Blur, and then blur that until it gets to where it's kind of the way we want. Okay, so now I can close that. So now I'll deselect our marching ants and we have this. Now one more thing we need to do is to select our ellipse, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change the opacity, because if you've ever seen galaxies, since galaxies are a collection of stars, you can see other stars through the galaxy since it's not a solid thing. And we don't want it to look like a solid thing. So we'll select our ellipse and then we'll select opacity and move the slider until we get stars showing through. And so we'll get the number of stars showing through that we want. And I kind of like it like that. And then once we get that, we can click off of it. And there we are. We have our galaxy. We have the colors that we want in our galaxy. We have our elliptical galaxy. And to make it look more like a galaxy, we have stars showing through it. So, give this a try yourself and use different combinations of colors. If you look up different pictures like I did, you'll see that there are all sorts of different colors of this type of galaxy, and see what you can come up with yourself. So, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for my next video.